If you want to have good freight as an owner operator, here are the steps I want you to follow right now. Number one, we are speaking about load boards. See, the whole thing is when we speak about load boards, a lot of folks mention, well, I want free load boards. Boss, are you willing to haul any load for free? No, we are talking business here. This is serious stuff. So you want to consider investing in a load board. So the $40 or the $30 they're charging you every month are totally worth it. Totally worth it. And so what I want you to do right now, I want you to find load boards in your area. And basically you want to apply. And now some of those may not be as popular as DOT or truckstop.com, but it doesn't really matter, because what you want is, when we speak about logistics, when we think about the freight business, it's all local. Okay, so if you are in Chicago, you're New York, you are whatever you are right now, I want you to go online and search for load boards in your area. And so that's number one. That's one source of finding good freight if you are an owner operator. Second source is freight brokers. See, freight brokers are a great source for finding consistent and valuable loads. Basically, you gain access to loads from shippers who exclusively list with brokers and can potentially get dedicated freight. That's what you want anyway. That's where the juice is really at. Dedicated freight. Boss, brokers can help you run your business efficiently by handling the logistics involved with locating and securing freight, negotiating the rate with the shipper, and getting all of the load details. This is really important. So to maximize the benefits of working with a broker, you want to form a relationship with a trustworthy broker for years, okay? And then you learn along the way. A third source of finding good freight as an owner operator is working with a dispatcher. This can be a cargo van, a sprinter van, a trucking dispatcher, whatever specialty the dispatcher is about. Make sure that you actually work with them. You can hire a dispatcher or contract with a dispatching service to find new loads. So whether you want to hire the person full-time or just contract with a dispatching service depends on what kind of objectives you have, okay? The thing is that dispatchers both manage freight and find loads, but they also handle a variety of administrative duties like accounting, for example, billing. Some of them do collections and back office services. So because the whole thing is, if you are an owner operator, you want to be on the road, boss. You don't want to be in the office and just taking care of accounting or bookkeeping. This is not your place to be. I want your ass to be on the road right now and start hauling loads. That's how you make money anyway. So working with an experienced dispatcher will help you find great freight and save you time managing your owner operator business. Another place where you can actually find good freight as an owner operator is through government contracts. By the way, boss, welcome back to the channel. We really appreciate having you. And in today's conversation, we're talking about how to actually find good freight as an owner operator. So government contracting is a great source. Whether federal, state, or local, the government is always looking for contractors that can transport freight. So becoming a government contractor can help you secure highly valuable freight that can grow your business big time. And the thing is, when becoming a government contractor, remember, you will need either a DUNS number, or they have changed it recently. They call it now UEID number. Okay, your NAICS code. This is a 6-digit code. You need to register in the System Award Management, the SAM database. Very important. You got to think about your SIC code, your Standard Industrial Classification code. That's a 4-digit number. You got to think about your EIN, your employer identification number. You have to think about your GSA eligibility criteria. Do you meet the General Services Administration criteria? So the thing is that the government, through the GSA, has a series of criteria you have to go through to make sure that you qualify. But honestly, I can tell you for a fact, we have been doing this for 30 years, having serving clients who have been government contractors for 30 years. There's a lot of bank to be made. There's a lot of cash. There's a lot of bread to be made in when it comes to contracting for the government. Very important. So that's another source. Another source also of finding good freight. Another way of finding good freight as an owner operator is through networking and contacting local shippers. What I'm trying to say here is that you can, when we talk about networking and contacting local shippers, I want you to improve your presence in the community. So it's not just about, earlier I was just talking about you being on the road and being at the wheel and just delivering loads here and there. But you got to take time also to network, to mingle with the community, to interact Okay, especially with shippers, with local shippers. Remember that networking is at the heart and soul of growing a business. So it's important to attend associations and events that attract shippers and carriers, while keeping also your business branding in mind. In other words, when you go there, I want you to have business cards. I want you to have some flyers. Any opportunity that you have to actually talk about your business is great. Additionally, you can contact local shippers directly to form professional relationships and eventually transport their freight. Who knows? So finding freight doesn't need to be complicated. You just have to be creative. Now, let me talk to you about how to build relationships with local shippers. By the way, boss, I just want to remind you of today's topic. We are speaking about how to find good freight as an owner operator. Now, I just talked to you about the top 5 ways that you can find freight: load boards, freight brokers, dispatching services, government contracts, and networking and contacting local shippers. Now, I want to explain to you real quick how to build relationships with local shippers. Now, the thing here is that in addition to finding freight, you can form professional relationships with local shippers. It can be tough to establish and manage these relationships, but over time, it can prove beneficial to your business, boss. Now, the thing that happens here is that when you work closely with local shippers, they may become consistent clients who can provide you with freight. See, the whole thing here is that we are trying to establish loyalty, to establish retention, client retention. We're trying to reduce client attrition, okay? And we're trying to establish shipper attrition to reduce that. So there are a lot of ways. Now, if you want to form a relationship with local shippers, you have to, first of all, find them through load boards. You got to contact them directly. You got to network with them. But the most important thing is you have to have a criteria whereby you are able to prove to them that you are a reliable carrier. See, that's the thing. See, people talk about first impression counts. Yes, first impression counts. But if you pass the first impression, you got to sustain that trust. So simply because you did very well at the interview, you had a nice smile and all that kind of stuff, and you talked about the right topics, and you get hired. If you don't perform, if you don't show up every day, in and out, being consistent, you are going to lose that client. So it's really important to think about the relationship on a long run. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And when think about building relationship with local shippers, I want you to think about how to serve them better. What are their needs? Okay, what industry they're in? Who are their rivals? Who are their competitors? What kind of criteria are really important for them? Is it price? Is it punctuality? So my whole thing here is that, boss, I want you to educate yourself on the kind of they call it pain points. In business, they call it pain points your shippers have. In other words, what are those areas where your shippers have concerns, they have problems, they will like people to, they will love carriers like you help them solve. So this is something you need to think about. I want to talk to you about which loads you should take. The thing is, if you are an owner operator and you want to think about truck loads, cargo van loads, sprinter van loads, what kind of loads you should take? Well, it depends on your business goals anyway. But based on our experience, there are 3 important things. There are 3 important criteria that you want to pay attention to if you want to have a sustainable business model in this industry. Again, here we are speaking about not only cargo van and sprinter van, but also truck. We're speaking about box truck and all that kind of stuff. Okay, if you are an owner operator, you want to listen here. So when you search for loads, you need to determine which ones will help your business the most. Not every load will turn much of a profit, and you will need to consider load criteria instead of other than the rate. So when choosing which loads to pick up, consider the following: the freight prices. When factoring in the overall amount of money you will make with the load, consider the rate per mile, the RPM, and your net profit. You need to be aware of the average RPM on a lane before determining if you pick up the load or not. You also need to be aware if the IPM is too good to be true. If the IPM is let's say excessively higher than other loads, It may have unreasonable requirements and could even be a scam or fraudulent listing. You also need to factor in your operating costs to determine how much money you will make from a load. This is really important, boss. Now, carriers sometimes fall into the trap of paying higher operational costs than what the load is worth, which means that you are actually losing money from transporting certain loads. So, freight prices is number one. Lane comfort. So just because a load is valuable does not mean you should transport it. Often, valuable loads are on difficult routes. You need to make sure that your truck or cargo van or sprinter van is equipped for the road and weather conditions, and that you have experience driving certain routes and in challenging climate conditions. It can be dangerous to operate in certain conditions if you don't have the proper equipment. Okay. And the third criterion here is the size of the shipper. So if you are working exclusively through a broker, you may now have to consider shipper size, as the broker will have contracts actually with different shippers of all sizes. However, if you are working independently, you should know that the advantages and disadvantages of carrying freight for larger and smaller shippers. Larger shippers will often supply more diversity in the type of freight you are transporting, and they can usually offer more consistent freight. The downside of working with the larger shipper is that it's challenging to form a close professional relationship because they work with so many carriers. When you work with a smaller shipper, they will notice your work performance and you can develop a positive professional relationship. When you have a relationship with a smaller shipper, they are more likely to refer you to other businesses. So, which loads should you take? So besides freight prices, lane comfort, the size of shipper, you also need to think about the shipper behavior. This is really important. You need to know how shippers treat carriers. See, the whole thing is you want to do a lot of research online. You want to ask folks around you to have some kind of feedback on their reputation. Before transporting a load, research the shipper's reputation amongst carriers. Find out if they have a good credit score and pay their carriers in a timely manner. Because the whole thing is you don't want to waste your time actually just hauling loads from point A to point B, and when it comes time to actually pay you, the shipper is playing some kind of games with you. So this is really not good at all. So do some research before, conduct due diligence. Okay. You also need to find out if they are timely with their loads and if they'll pay detention fees in the case of a delay. Very important. And also the type of freight. And so you have to think about, does your vehicle, either truck, cargo van, sprinter van, pickup truck, box truck, whatever, does your vehicle meet the requirements for this freight? The load may be too heavy or contains easily damaged perishable items, so it's important to use technologies that support specific operating systems. And you want to consider whether you have the certifications or licenses required to actually transport the freight. Okay, for example, some items fall under some items fall under hazardous material guidelines from the Department of Transportation. So you will need a special hazmat endorsement from the Transportation Security Administration. So this is really important. So when we talk about the type of freight, perishable and hazardous material are those two categories that really they pay a lot, but they're also complicated. And also you also have a third criteria. You have a third criterion, which is the some federally sensitive materials. Okay, but again, those things are kind of niche products, niche loads, so we're not going to talk about them here. So when finding the right loads for your business, you should consider various factors that affect the rate, your comfort, and the regulations of transporting the freight. So before taking a load, do your homework on what you will need to take certain freight and shipper reputation among carriers. Okay, very important. The reputation is really important, because the last thing you want is associating yourself with a carrier, with a shipper whose reputation is really less than stellar. You don't want that. I want to talk to you about, we're still having a conversation, boss, about how to find freight as an owner operator. And it's really important to understand that you need to think about the tools that you need to use to find freight. The thing here is that when we talk about tools, as an owner operator, you need to utilize the best tools available to find the best freight for your business. And there are many systems and devices you can use, including freight brokers. So freight brokers are often critical for finding loads. And here I'm speaking about the tools that a freight broker will actually propose to you. Okay, you can talk directly with a broker on the phone or communicate with them online or through mobile apps. Same thing for load boards. So you can use load boards to find freight and build new relationships instantly. You can access load boards through a web browser, via a computer, laptop, tablets, or a smartphone. And you also have something called Freight Finder mobile software. So load boards often feature invaluable mobile app tools that make finding loads easier than ever. So when you utilize load matching, you can bypass the hassle of searching for loads and negotiating rates. You can simply pick up a load at a moment's notice. Some platforms even use machine learning powered freight matching, which learns what loads to recommend based on your previous hauls. And most load boards feature a mobile app for Apple and Android devices. And another tool that we love a lot in this business is the map search. So map search is a tool you can use to maximize the amount of freight you transport on your route. You can find both full and partial loads on your map interface, so you can pick up new loads near your drop-off locations. Very important. And consequently, what happens here is that you can cut down on deadheading and increase overall efficiency. Now, deadheading is really important, folks. We are speaking about deadheading. We are speaking about empty miles, okay? And if you're doing OTR a lot, or even just hauling suburban or urban loads, you definitely don't want to have deadhead. You don't want to have deadheading, okay? And so many different load boards mobile apps feature map search, such as Express Technologies. We have JB Hunt, we have Direct Freight, and Dot Freight Analytics. So this is really important. So carriers have access to various tools for finding freight. So whether you are working with a freight broker or connecting directly with shippers, accessing new loads is as simple as pulling up your web browser or downloading a mobile app. So to close to this conversation, let's just have a general discussion about how to get better over time at finding freight. Now, the thing here is that as an owner operator, I want you to really situate yourself. You spend a lot of time on the road, boss, and your ass is not in the office anyway. It's at the wheel. So it can be challenging to balance. It can be really challenging to balance managing your business and finding freight. So you want to stay ahead of the game and find the best freight for your business with tools and tech solutions like map search and other tools. You need to stay highly organized to keep your business profitable and efficient. And so it's really important. So there are a couple of things I want you to pay attention to when it comes to finding freight. Manage your finances. Very important to manage your finances. You want to keep directions and contact information on hand. You want to avoid dead hauls by searching for freight by location. Okay, so the whole thing is you want to have the right tool that can assist you in keeping your business organized through helpful tracking features and contact information. So this is really good. And again, it doesn't matter whether you use an app, you use a web-based portal, or you use a dispatch service. You just want to make sure that you are able to get load recommendations based on your location. You want to actually tap into a wide network of shippers. You want to have a reliable and profitable loads, and you want to have a direct contact with your shipper. Okay, and don't forget to actually always propose great customer service. Okay, very important. It's important. For example, we have found in our research that a tool called Express Technologies, that tool includes a lot of features that allow you, for example, to find your favorite lane alerts. You can actually find load management. You have e-logs. In other words, how many hours and how many miles you actually log on the road OTR. The hours of service functionality. This is really good. So overall, the whole thing is when you're thinking about getting better at finding freight, it's about first having a vision, and second, making sure that you follow through with that vision. In other words, you have to start cultivating relationship with your existing shippers. Because as I said before, the difference between a big shipper, quote unquote big shipper, and a small shipper is that a small shipper can refer you to other clients. And if you treat that shipper right, it's just bonanza for you. By the way, you treat every shipper right, no matter the size anyway. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to find freight as an owner operator. So I gave you the 5 ways that you can find freight, how to build relationships with local shippers, which loads you should take, what tools you should use to find freight, and how to get better at finding freight overnight. Thank you so much for your attention. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.